Alright, yesterday we learned how to solve two-step equations. Today we're going to look at more two-step equations. I put the two-step in quotes because we are going to be looking at equations that are going to present the necessity to use the distributive property. So in those cases you are actually going to have to do a third step rather than two steps to get to the end of the problem, but your equations are always going to end up looking like the equations from yesterday. So let's get right into examples today. Alright, so our first example, solve the equation 2 times the quantity x plus 4 equals 18. So yesterday, like I said, we were looking at equations that were like this. And then we were going in backwards order of operations to isolate the variable term. And then we were finishing up the problem in 2 steps total. This being step 1, that being step 2. Well, today we're going to have one extra step involved. So I take a look at this equation and I realize right off the bat that this over here is not even simplified yet. So before I can go to solve this problem, I have to simplify this. So the first thing I'm going to do is use my distributive property to distribute that 2 into the parentheses. That's going to give me 2 times x plus 2 times 4 equals 18. Well, that's 2x plus 8 equals 18. Now I have a two-step equation. So I'm going to use SADMAP as I did yesterday. And I know that I have addition and multiplication that I need to undo. So I'm going to undo the addition first. I'm going to subtract 8 from each side. That's going to give me 2x equals 10. And then I'm going to divide by 2 to undo that multiplication on each side. That's going to give me x equals 5. I can always check my answers just like I did yesterday. 2 times 5 plus 4. Well, that's 2 times 9, which is actually equal to 18, so that checks out. Okay? Alright, so this is all that we're doing for the new lesson. So we look at another example. Go ahead and pause if you feel confident enough to do this one without me. I'm going to distribute the 5 to the n and the 2. So it's going to be 5n minus 5 times 2 equals to negative 30. It's going to be 5n minus 10 equals negative 30. I'm going to undo subtraction first, so I'm going to add 10 to each side. I get 5n equals negative 20. Undo multiplication last, divide by 5, and I get that n is equal to negative 4. Okay? Let's do 2 more examples and then we'll get to our problem of the day. Alright, so now this one requires the use of a fraction, but it's still not too bad. I'm going to distribute that fraction in. We've done this before. So I have 1/2 w minus 1/2 times 4 equals 5. I'm going to throw that 4 over a 1 so that I turn it into a fraction. So that's, again, still 1/2 w minus, well, that's 1 times 4 is 4. 2 times 1 is 2, so that's 4 over 2, so it's actually going to be equal to 2, equals 5. I'm going to add 2 to each side. I get 1/2 w equals 7. Now to undo the 1/2 w, I'm going to multiply by the reciprocal, so I'm going to multiply by 2 over 1 on each side, or just 2. That's going to cancel these guys out, leaving me 1w is equal to 14. Okay? Let's do one last example, this time with decimals. So I have 0.4 multiplied by w minus 7. The quantity w minus 7 is equal to 18. I'm going to distribute that 0.4 in. I'm going to get 0.4 w minus 2.8 equals 18. I'm going to add that 2.8 on each side. It's going to give me 0. You know what? I'm actually going to start this one over because I actually skipped a step. So in order to get that 2.8, okay, that's that step that I had skipped. So let's just draw a line and start over, because here's the thing. Some of you might be ready to jump to that step, but if we're not ready, there's no problem in that. So the step that I skipped was showing my distribution. So I have 0.4W minus 0.4 multiplied by 7 equals 18. So that's where I got my 0.4W minus 2.8 equals 18. So that's where I got this from. Okay, so then we are going to add 2.8 to each side. And I'm going to get 0.4 W is equal to 20.8. I'm going to divide by 0.4 on each side. I'm going to get my final answer of W is equal to 52. All right, so now let's get to the problem of the day. For problems, again, be ready tomorrow to be ready to volunteer to show us how to get to the answers. And that is our lesson for today. Have a good night.